I'd now like to introduce our panelists. So Beth Reynolds is the Assistant Town Manager for Community Development and Community Affairs for the town of Ashland, a position she has held since May of 2025. From 2016 to 2025, Beth served as Ashland's Director of Economic Development and Community Outreach, where she led efforts to strengthen the local economy, support small businesses, and foster community engagement and communications. She is one of the creators of the Corner Spot, an innovative pop-up park and pop-up retail space designed to activate Ashland's downtown area, support local entrepreneurs, and encourage economic development and community engagement through placemaking. And we know Beth very well because she sat on our board for many years. So we're delighted to have her today. Lindsay Jarrick was born and raised in the city of Marlborough and serves as the Director of Business and Community Development for the Marlborough Economic Development Corporation. She joined the organization 5 years ago following a 22-year career in the hospitality industry, experience that now directly shapes her work in advancing Marlborough's tourism economy. Lindsay has successfully managed the Marlborough downtown pop-up shops for the past 3 years and the Marlborough Food Truck and Arts Festival for the past 5 years, signature initiatives that activate public spaces, attract visitors, and showcase local businesses and creative talent. And Lindsay is a tremendous partner of ours at MEDC and sits on our board and is our clerk as well. So please welcome Lindsay. And Corey Shea is the Director of Arts, Culture, and Creative Economy for the town of Franklin, where she oversees programs that support creative entrepreneurs, manage public art initiatives, and help shape the cultural identity of the region. Her work emphasizes community engagement, collaboration, and inclusive access to the arts, connecting artists, businesses, and residents through meaningful, community-centered initiatives. And Corey also sits on our board and is also a tremendous partner of ours, and we have worked together very well. So welcome, Corey. All right, we are going to jump right in because we have an awful lot to cover. So each of you has created different pop-up opportunities in your communities, and there's also an interesting thread that connects the three of your efforts. Let's start with Beth, and then Lindsay, and then Corey, if you could each give a brief backstory to the pop-up projects you've masterminded.
Oh, there's us. Oh, there we go. Hi, everyone. Good morning. I'm so excited to talk to you about this project. It is no longer a new project. The Corner Spot was created 8 years ago. When I first started my position in Ashland, there was a spot in Ashland, which you can see in the kind of the middle, the top middle. When you come into our downtown, you pass a beautiful waterfall. You come into our downtown, and there was this house sitting there. A lot of kids called it the haunted house of Ashland. It was a house, and the property now is still owned by the Ashland Affordable Housing Trust. Without a plan for that space and my desire to bring new businesses into town, we really looked at that parcel to say, what could we do there? And thanks to Mass Development's Commonwealth Places grant, we were able to create this spot. It's a pop-up spot. It was a placemaking grant that we used matching funds. So we had this great idea. Let's put a building there, some sort of a structure that can act as a pop-up shop so that businesses can test drive the market. And getting there and sort of being new in my role, I didn't know what I didn't know, and jumped in with 2 feet. And I'm glad I did. I'm glad I didn't know actually what I know now 10 years later, but I think that this space was a kind of a pivotal moment for Ashland. Because it created a gathering space that was missing. We didn't have that in our downtown. Our businesses were struggling. There was really no reason to come downtown. And this park was built with the idea of 5 women that got together to pull it together in less than a year. We built it in 3 months. And the idea is down in the bottom right, and then that was before and after. So this space was home to a few businesses that popped up in a shed, literally a shed that we dropped, put in a handicapped accessible bathroom, a 3-bay sink, and has acted as home to many people that are just trying to start up. So what came of this, though, was COVID. Obviously, things had to shift and pivot. So although we don't have as many pop-up shops as we wanted, the events that came from this spot have transformed our town. It brought people out, it got people together, and it was actually critical after COVID to bring people back together. And so now we have multiple annual events. People still pop up in the shed, and we've kind of moved on to creating other pop-up opportunities that we're going to talk about later. So that's a little bit of background on the Corner Spot.
Good morning. Thanks for having me. Great job, Stacy. So I'm Lindsay from Auburn Economic Development, and we are about to get into our fourth season of our pop-up shop program. And how it came to be was that we didn't have any vacancies in our downtown, and our mayor at the time, Arthur Vigent, was really trying to find creative ways that we could create space for retailers in our downtown so that we could add to the diversity of retailers, because I'm sure many of us in Metrowest know a lot of our downtowns have a lot of the same products, and we wanted to really give an opportunity for small businesses and vendors and users to test that retail market in the downtown and see if we could kind of shake up that mix of businesses that we had down there. So with the opportunity that came through our partnership with the 495 Metrowest partnership, there was a redo grant available. So legislators still in the room, thank you. These opportunities for communities to become creative and think of ways to just invest in our municipalities in this way was very important and came at an integral time for us because we had people that wanted to be retailers in our downtown. So we're like, okay, how do we create space? There's some money here, how do we play with this? And we had heard such great things about Ashland's Corner Spot, and so a really great thing about the economic development world in Massachusetts is we're very collaborative and really good resources to each other. So we called Beth and said, okay, Beth, how did you do it? What can we do? What do we need to know? We couldn't have got the project off the ground and as successful as it has been without Beth's help during that time. So we had 3 sheds built, and you can see them here. And on the left, you can see inclusivity was really important to us. So where we could have put some sheds anywhere, we wanted to make sure that they were really handicap accessible. So we worked with our DPW and facilities teams and actually sunk them down into a location in a parking lot so that it was flush with the ground, which I think, probably get into more of that later. But that was really some key important parts for us in the beginning. And then we also took the opportunity to make sure that we were implementing some public art with them. So instead of just having a couple of what would look like storage units for maybe some of the downtown businesses, we really wanted to activate the space and give opportunities to artists and liven up the area. And so yeah, we just, like I said, we're going into our 4th season. We have helped over 100 users in these spaces, and we have had 2 users actually open retail storefronts, brick and mortars, in our downtown. So we're looking for our next success story and to keep helping these businesses grow.
Awesome. Thank you, Lindsay. Thanks for having me. Hi, everybody. My name is Corey Shea. I'm the Director of Arts and Culture in the Creative Economy for the town of Franklin, which is quite a mouthful. I've been in the municipal role for about 2 years, actually, this month. And prior to me joining the Franklin team, in 2021, the town of Franklin, as well as the town of Runtham, was awarded a regional pilot project grant, which was $188,000 that granted them the opportunity to support small businesses within their downtown businesses. And that was all well and good. Businesses popped up, and now here we are 5 years later. Unfortunately, those businesses are no longer downtown. I'm just stating kind of the bummer aspect of the reality of trying to have a engaging downtown, and that the landscape is constantly changing, as well as the community members, and that's why it's important that we're all in this room to organize, plan, and strategize. Since I've been involved with the town of Franklin, I have joined the board here with Stacy, and Lindsay actually was talking about the pop-up project, I think just like in passing at one of our meetings, and I was like, wait, what do you mean? I want to know more about that. I'm also an artist myself, so I'm like, wait, that sounds cool. So Lindsay shared a little bit more detail, and after a board meeting gave me a tour of the sheds, and it was just so engaging and welcoming, and I'm like, I gotta do this in Franklin, like we gotta get this going. So that's really where the pop-ups in Franklin, within my generation or my era of building pop-ups in Franklin. So I invited Lindsay to come speak at an arts and culture symposium that we hosted last fall, along with Allison Yee, who is the creator of Popping Up Next. And we invited them to speak to really just engage in a conversation about the work that they do. And I wanted to make sure we were setting up the tone of the program to be a conversation, not one of those moments where, we're revealing the secrets of how to be successful, keeping it organic and authentic, because that's really what all this community building is about, keeping it authentic and making it last while for our community members. So at our symposium, we talked a lot about how to do that, just your experiences, as well as wins and failures, because that is how we're all gonna be able to continue on with this work. And from there, we had a lot of engaging community conversations in Franklin. We had a lot of town council members meeting with our downtown partnership, really just trying to creatively strategize how do we get outside of our own struggles that we're dealing with landlords and volunteer capacity, municipal capacity, just business member capacity. So it was really a great way for all of us to get together and talk about that, and then resulted in our 2025 Wreath of Franklin. Wreath of Franklin. Do you love that? So fun. Which is our holiday festival, because I noticed when I first started, I'm like, hey, we don't have like a holiday stroll, which is like kind of a big miss, So due to volunteer burnout, there was a lot of that festive energy, but people got tired. So that's where I see it as my role of like jumping in there. So we hosted our second Wreath of Franklin, but part of this element was including a pop-up arts vendor and market. So it was important for me to set the tone of like, we're gonna talk about it, but then we're actually gonna do it and bring everybody along with us to see the building blocks and see how we got there, because that's how you get the community buy-in. People are gonna be interested in what we're doing if they get to be involved in a accessible way. So that's kind of it in a nutshell. Thanks, Stacey.
I just wanted you guys to see some of the pictures from Aretha Franklin, which I absolutely adore the name. Okay, so now you've got a little background on how each of these projects got started. And so I have a list of questions, and this is like our quick fire round, right? So a minute each kind of on answers. So it's interesting to see how efforts in each town morphed over the years based on market demand, funding, changes in vision, and other factors. Can you each talk a little about roadblocks that you may have run into and how you addressed them?
Yeah, so I think an important thing for us is that we have the pop-up shops open for 33 weeks. There's 3 sheds. That is 99 spots to fill per season. So I think one of the roadblocks is making sure that our team has the broadband to be helping those users week after week, whether it's turning the spaces over or helping them self-promote or whatever support it is to give them. I also think this year the retail market took a really big hit, and being able to encourage their growth and their own investment and staying involved and excited about the project had its own challenges this year, but I think by continuing to promote, we do ads in our local paper almost every other week. We're making sure we're posting on social media for them. We're trying to bring some smaller events to the spaces or community groups. So making sure that we're doing our part to drive foot traffic to them kind of helps naturally get over those roadblocks for the users. And then weather is another one for us. So our 3 sheds are in the middle of a cement parking lot in downtown. Not a lot of like tree cover or shade. And so to kind of get through that roadblock and take the feedback from those users over the years. This year we invested in some portable air conditioners. And so just a way to say, hey, we appreciate that you're using the program, and we want to make sure that we're listening to you and continuing to invest in the program on your behalf.
So I would say I think it's being relevant all the time. You sort of have to keep the creativity going. You have to be able to pivot. I think those can be challenging sometimes. I also think it's like one of those, where are all the people? Why aren't the people coming? So I think we're always trying to find new ways to market and to keep our staff energized and excited about it as well. So I do think, marketing, getting out to the people and having them come in. I also agree weather is difficult with an outdoor park. If it rains, that's it. That event's gone. And if it's too hot, they just don't come. So that is a little challenging as well.
I'll also echo the weather. There's no more greater anxiety of like, do I cancel the event? Do I have to reschedule everyone? Like, it's a nightmare. So that's also why it's lovely to have a team of people to help you make those decisions so it doesn't all, lie on your shoulders there. As I mentioned earlier, I've been with Franklin for about 2 years, so I feel like my experiences within the municipality, I'm still in our building era. So the challenges that I'm running into come more from gaining community trust and having actual community partners understand that I'm going to follow through with what I say that I'll do. So I'm in that point of like, see, look, we did it. I promise we'll continue to do this. Work with us. So there's that, as well as the pillar of then you have community volunteers and organizers who are traditional in the sense of this is how we do things, and I don't want to pivot to the other elements of community members. So it's a tricky, line to walk of being respectful of the culture that you have in your town, but also wanting to welcome new energy and new ideas. Also the fact that also falls in the space of landlords. I feel like that's something that I've been hit with a lot of like, oh, we can't do that because of the landlord. I'm like, who are these landlords? And I'm, stalking everybody in downtown Franklin. If you see this, I'm coming for you in a good way. But it's something that as a team and community members, like this is why we have to work with different people outside of our sector so we can make those connections and build that authentic relationship so people actually do want to collaborate.
Great. All right, so we talked about the negative. Let's move to the positive, right? So collaborations are key to the success of so many ventures. Can you tell us a little bit about the collaborations that happened with each of your projects?
Yeah, I'll start since I'm holding the microphone. And recently I would say the collaborations with the Arts and Culture Symposium, that was my first stab at a regional event, and I really enjoyed, outside of a visual art exhibition, I really enjoyed the ideas that different community members outside of our region brought, and also a lot of that similar overlap. Like that was the best, to be able to stare at somebody and be like, you understand these struggles, and be able to have that camaraderie and knowing that we're all doing a lot of similar work. We're all here because we're community organizers. Another aspect of that is actually bringing joy into the community, which I know sounds like really corny, but it's true. It matters. It's like there's so much horrible crap going on in our world. It's nice when you can create a space for your community members where they're not fighting with each other on Facebook. And that is a really huge portion of creating a healthy community, is having that FaceTime with one another and actually building relationships outside of the digital platform. So I would say those were the best collabs.
For us, the collaboration, like I mentioned, the grant with 495 Metrowest partnership, and also our municipal investment was enormous in it. Marlboro is a get it done, pull your sleeves up community, and we're really fortunate as MEDC, as a resident, as an employee of the city, that's a mentality we have. We're a very yes community, and so when we were, like I said, digging up parking lots and thinking it might be a one-season thing, and we're building signs and Jersey barrier covers, and Lindsay's sheds are, the bane of DPW and facilities existence. Just making sure that everyone continued to have the vision, and then at the end of it could look at it and say, this is really cool what we were able to do here. This was a creative project we were able to do. We have really partnered with the farmers market that sets up in the area because, again, we're driving that foot traffic. Every user will say the Saturdays that the farmers market is happening next door are their best days. So making sure we're having that collaboration of, okay, there's an event happening here, how do we drive that foot traffic over? And then partnering, with events, all events that are happening kind of in our downtown and small businesses, and getting them to promote each other and collaborate together. And then where we never saw this as an opportunity for the pop-up shops, it was really retail, small business focused. When we are trying to fill those 99 spots a year, obviously there's some openings. And so we started to kind of collaborate with our library and with some community groups in the area saying, okay, looks like we're gonna have an opening next week. Do you want to do a small free library in here, or do you want to get information out about your community group, and making it a wider collaboration?
I love the positive stuff, not so much about the negative. So the Corner Spot has been a huge catalyst for so many things, and it has been that space that has brought together nonprofits. So we have a lot of nonprofit organizations that have their own events there to help fundraise. We partner with the Moms Group. They do a tot spot every Thursday. We have a gentleman in town that does an open mic night every Thursday night. And then the best collaboration, though, I have to say, and it sort of has created this little domino effect, is that we really focused on the brick and mortars that we have in our downtown and looked for ways to support them. So when we have an event, I remember when the Visitors Bureau did their first food truck festival, and everybody was like, no, it's gonna take away from our businesses. Those restaurants were packed that first year that they did a food truck festival. That's what happens when you have an event in downtown Ashland, is that the restaurants, the shops that are there, they have their best day. So that collaboration, by providing a reason for people to come and want to come, also then just trickles down and out to everyone else. So the pizza shop gets slammed that day. Blush Bouquets in downtown has her best day of retail sales on the days that we have events. It's proven, and they love it, and they feel supported. So now what's happened is, because of that collaboration, they've created their own downtown business group. They have their own events, and now they ask the Corner Spot to be a part of their events. So it has that domino effect. So it has been a huge positive gain for our town. We thought it was going to be there for 1 year. That was it. It was only supposed to be 1 year, and we're going on our 9th season.
So the thing that I think is amazing about pop-ups is that they can be as small or as big as you want them to be, right? So in the case of Ashland and Marlboro, they have permanent spaces that are their pop-up spaces. In Franklin, it's been using existing spaces, but it is truly a pop-up. You're here and then you're gone, right? The beauty of a pop-up is that it can be anything from an empty storefront that you want to revitalize in a downtown to a street fair where literally tents are popping up and it's a one-day thing. So for a community who wanted to create a new pop-up offering, can you each share your thoughts on both shoestring ways to get started, as well as realistic expectations for ongoing investments necessary for success?
So I think, if anybody knows Boston, Lawn on D was sort of like one of the things that sort of got me thinking about what placemaking would look like for Ashland. And I think it's important to say, I always say economic development looks different in every community, but we're all kind of the same. So what Framingham is doing is a little bit different than what Ashland is doing, but we're all doing the same thing, just in different levels and in different ways. So for me, I feel like even a small thing is worth it. You can do it. It doesn't cost much at all, actually, to do a pop-up. I run the Corner Spot on a budget of $8,000 a year, and that includes heat and Wi-Fi and water. So I think, and events. So I think even if you start small, it doesn't have to be big. And then you watch it'll grow. It'll grow before your eyes in no time. So I think it's possible to do something small. and start that way and then see what happens. You'll be surprised at how many people come out and want to be a part of it, for sure.
Yeah, I think the shoestring part of it is you have to really think about what you want to do and where the space is and what the site is. So for us, we chose a site that we would be able to connect to electricity easy enough. It took Meredith, our executive director, literally walking around with National Grid, knocking on every business's doors because we had to shut the panel down. But we found a way that, okay, if we do it on this site, it's going to be as small as a disruption as possible for our businesses, and it's going to get us up running as quick as possible. So I really believe that finding the right site helps you then visualize what the project is going to look like. And can I have one shed? Can I have 3 sheds? Can I have a storage container? Corey's bought a greenhouse that I'm going to see someday and love. Yeah. Like, is it just an 8x10 canopy tent coming up on the weekends to have a user in there, but it's always in that same spot? So I think it's about, one, what is your site, and 2, what are you trying to provide for the users in the community? I forgot the second part of that too.
No, you covered it.
So shoestring, that is my jam. I am coming from an artist nonprofit sector. So it was like, you have no budget, go make this happen. So here we are, which the town of Franklin loves that about me. For our recent, our Wreath of Franklin, we spent under $800 on this huge downtown festival that we had community events, music, and we had, as I mentioned, the artist pop-up vendors who collectively through surveys made over $2,000, which is like, yeah, you know, huzzah for the artists. So that also, I would say, shoestring is the fact of building partnerships with people who want the same thing as you, making sure that you're both on the same page of your community expectations and wanting to make sure that you're highlighting the artists, the makers, because that's really what it comes down to, and keeping it engaging. I would say another aspect is taking inventory on what is already working in your town. And for us, the cultural district in downtown Franklin is bumping. I think just during the World Cup timeline, we have 11 different community events that are already happening on their own timeline and schedule. So it's capitalizing on that. Like, how can we help build that? And that also taps back into building the partnerships with people and being on the same page. And also being able to say, hey, I may not be able to bring you data and a huge budget, but I will get down and do what we have to do to help make this grow together. And I think people respect that in a partnership. So it's also, you know, putting your money where your mouth is and being able to flip a 6-foot table as quickly as possible.
I love those of us that have that arts and culture nonprofit background who are used to rolling up our sleeves. Or yesterday I had my shoes off as I was putting up that banner over there. You each tie into events and foot traffic they bring in different ways. Can you share some thoughts and advice on how those new to creating pop-ups could capitalize on the influx of World Cup travelers to Massachusetts this summer to create a first pop-up of their own? And as part of that, how can existing permanent storefronts leverage pop-up events to increase foot traffic during high visitor periods?
What a question. Well, as we all have learned,
and you've got 45 seconds.
Like, all right, the World Cup is coming, apparently. Surprise. So something that we've been doing in Franklin is the fact that there are lots of unknowns in planning this larger community-related event, but what we do know is what we have going on in the cultural district. So we are capitalizing on that and really using that cultural district marketing budget to pull up all the businesses as well as programming that I mentioned and highlighting that in a regional way. So it doesn't necessarily compete with the other watch party or things that are already extra that we're adding. It's still uplifting what's already going on. And all of us, I think, in this room can say we understand what's going on in our towns, and it's just important to share that information. I'd also say popping up within stores. Lindsay has a great example of this happening in downtown Marlboro, but in downtown Franklin, we had Greco Designs popped up in a seasonal store space, and it was a great partnership that was a store owner welcoming another vendor into their space and knowing that would just activate the space in a way that wouldn't normally be used. So it's finding kind of those pockets of creativity with the resources you have.
We heard it here. People are out there for experiences, and with my food and beverage background, I see that more and more all the time, and with the restaurants and hotels we're working with. So I think that at the pop-ups, making sure that the users are providing an experience that people are looking for are going to help those World Cup, international, even domestic travelers come and really want to immerse themselves in the culture. And so that's where the public art and the products that are being offered in the pop-up shops are really important. And I think especially during this time, making sure you can make a cultural connection for the visitors and the sellers. That's where they're going to be able to capitalize.
What they said. No, I think everyone loves a good theme, and I think that as we kind of capitalize on these collaborations that we've made and work together, and I think working regionally with our regional partners, chambers and 495 Partnership, the Visitors Bureau, I think we're doing the right stuff.
Great. All right, and lastly, I'd love for each of you to share your best 30 seconds worth of out-of-the-box advice.
Michael Herbert is our town manager, and he's here today in the back. He's hiding back there, and he knows I say this often. If you have a good idea and you can sell it in less than a minute, go with it. Just jump in, 2 feet, get it done. Don't think too hard. That would be my advice. I think we all have to be a little brave. I think if you've got a good idea, just share it with somebody. And seriously, if they say that's a good idea in less than a minute, you should go with that. He did it with me, and I never looked back, and we did jump in with 2 feet, and it proved success for us. So that would be my advice.
Stacey, can you go to my second slide, please? Yeah. My 30 seconds is really know who you're doing it for. If you want to do a pop-up project, who are you doing it for? And making sure that your goal is clear. For us, we wanted to activate storefronts in downtown and give people the opportunity to test the retail market in downtown. We knew we had all of these makers and artists and small businesses that just weren't getting the exposure and opportunity in our downtown that was going to help elevate their business and their creativity and have that help them understand, is this something that I want to continue to pursue in my life? And so that was our goal at the time, was giving that opportunity, because it can get the grind can get hard in the pop-up shop world and program, and if you don't know who exactly you're doing it for, I think it can become very easy to lose sight of the importance of the project.
Ditto. But also, to add to that, I once had a Massachusetts Cultural Council employee say to me that they had never known a sector such as the arts of people just yelling the same thing at each other and echoing the same sentiment. So just making sure, and I was like, wow, you're right. Artists are great at advocating for themselves to themselves. And it just was like, how do we get the other people in the room? So just thinking about those creative bridges of invite the wacky artists to your brainstorm, because they probably have a really cool, engaging idea, but also have like the head of the bank there so he can back it. That would be my advice.
Thank you all. So the thing that I find so interesting coming out of this is that we've got 3 very different scenarios, towns, models, and they've all come up with something that I feel like stresses the same things, right? Be brave, collaborate and partner with the people around you. It doesn't take a lot of money. It does take effort, right? But it's not an overwhelming amount of effort if you start small. But with a very small pot of money and the right group of people, you can create amazing pop-up scenarios and events that can lead people to end up with brick and mortar storefronts, like has happened in downtown Marlboro, which really leads to economic development, right? You make your retailers happy, you make your consumers happy, and you build up your town as a place that people want to go. So thank you all so much for your insight, for the great work that you do, for your support of our organization. We very much appreciate it, so thank you.
This program was made possible by your Franklin friends and neighbors, good folks just like you. Thanks for supporting Franklin TV. And thanks for watching.